Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today we cap off this wonderful week that is the 1994 stop on our 52-year journey through film. We've done every day this week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and every single one of those days, I've been joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here, and man, what a week it has been.
What a week it has been. Today, it's Saturday, and we're talking The Shawshank Redemption. Now, 1994 was such a powerful year for movies, and this week has been joyous, to say the least. It's actually interesting. It's taken so long to cover this week that I watched this movie a month ago in anticipation for this podcast and had to rewatch it. And the day that I did watch it, it ended up being one of the better movie days for me. Went and watched The Shawshank Redemption, followed it up with Spider-Man No Way Home, and went and saw The Batman in theaters.
Sheesh.
That's a good movie day. That's a good movie day.
Who was that? That was really weird.
That was Tom Brady. But I can't believe that man's gonna stick with it. He's just gonna keep playing. What a fucking maniac. But The Shawshank Redemption. Let's talk The Shawshank Redemption, if we will. Let's lay the groundwork. The Shawshank Redemption, released on October 14th, 1994. And if that sounds like a familiar date, it's because two of our movies this week were released on that very day. Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption were both released in theaters and on October 14th, 1994, which makes it one of the most powerful days in movie history, frankly.
Damn. Imagine choosing.
Right.
Well, I guess you wouldn't.
Well, that's what's crazy. All of these were in the theaters at the same time. You know, Forrest Gump was still in its theatrical run.
Jeez.
I'm pretty sure. I think Toy Story might have came out in 1994.
Jesus.
And it was in theaters. Like, it
95,
was a...
Yeah. For Toy Story.
I see.
Yeah. Man, but still, I mean, like, I guess they wouldn't know, like, saying Pulp Fiction and Shawshank came out on the same day. It's like, how do you choose between which movie you go to? But, like, how they didn't know that these movies were, like, there,
Yeah, exactly.
So, which is, that's even crazier to think about. Like, imagine if Shawshank or Pulp Fiction was, like, our Batman, like the movie that, like, we went out, like, just to see, or like, I don't know, it's just weird to think, like, back in 94, that's what people were seeing instead of,
these franchise and sequel movies and et cetera. But, beyond that, though, beyond the release date, it's based on a short novel by Stephen King, Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption, screenplays by Frank Darabont, and it's directed by Frank Darabont. And interestingly enough, Frank Darabont was almost called upon to write The Phantom Menace in the Star Wars saga. Interesting to think about what could have been if the guy who wrote The Shawshank Redemption had his hands on Star Wars. But ultimately George Lucas couldn't take his little hands off the prequel trilogy. He did all of that himself. So, but Frank Darabont, this is, they never lied. The first time I watched this was about a month ago. First time ever. I watched this and I was like, okay. I've always heard this is one of the greatest movies of all time. Top 3 greatest films of all time, pretty universally. And I was like, all right, I'll get around to it. I will, I promise. But there was something about it that wasn't hitting with me. Like I wouldn't engage with it. And when I did, I was like, fuck. No one ever lied to me. This is very, very genuinely one of the greatest films that has ever existed.
It's just that good.
Oh, it's so perfectly executed, man.
It is a movie that, whenever you first start watching it, it is just weird. And you're like, it's like just a prison movie, you know? And it's like, I don't know, how can this movie be at the level that people hold it at? Like, how can just a movie about some prisoners be this good? And then, like, the first time I watched it, at least, my mind was like blown. Like, I remember just being like, oh my God, this dude's a mega genius. Like, this was, and like the movie was perfectly crafted to like just give you all the little hint. Like, it, whenever you watch it again, you see all the little things he does, knowing what he did
over,
you know, like
the course of 19 years. He was planning towards that whole time. And, it's pretty incredible. You know, this story of, Andy Dufresne told through the eyes of Ellis, Boyd Redding Red, by, played by Morgan Freeman, who frankly is just fucking stellar in anything he touches. And, God, I love him here. This is honestly, these are two of my favorite characters. One of my favorite on-screen duos ever, Andy Dufresne and Red. Like, that's a classic movie pairing right there. You know what I'm saying? This is up there.
The 90s awards are going to be stacked. I didn't even think.
It's going to be
We have
tough.
so many movies for...
Well, I guess, we ought to have like a best duo category where it's like John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, Andy Dufresne and...
Do the 90s awards include all of these movies, or are we only selecting Forrest Gump?
No, all of them. All of them for that one.
Okay, good, cool. Cool.
Yeah. It'll just be like the averages that we take into account will be just Forrest Gump, but
I mean, Morgan Freeman, you know, narrates part of this movie too. You know, every now and then where there's some narration, which is always beautiful, just to hear his voice in narration.
Of course, and I gotta guess that this is what kind of makes it like, this was his narrator movie, you know. This was like everything I've ever thought it might be, but several things more. Like, it was like, I just don't know what I was expecting, and it wasn't, I didn't anticipate the resonation that I got out of it, you know, like everything that it hit me with over and over and over, you know, and, to see the horrors of the prison system, you know, like, it's just crazy to me that like we can watch this, see these things and go like our justice system goes, people deserve that. I don't know if I can get behind it.
Is still happening today, right now. Like, I mean, obviously there's probably some aspects of this movie that play it up a little bit, like dramatize it a little bit, but like,
you know, they got one of the prison guards being a fucking assassin up on the railing up there, pulling Trig down on one of the inmates. I feels a little over the top, but hey, like the first thing, like we kick off this movie with shame this is his only character name, but Fat Guy getting beat to death. That one's not as out there as the assassination. It's like, like the doctor was already off work and he had to lay there till morning, and he was dead by morning. So, that is devastating.
And you saw it was so interesting seeing how the old people who have been in there for a while, how they react to things. And then seeing like the fish become those people and then having the same reactions. But like whenever, you know, they realized that he was dead, they were like, you know, it was the bets. He won the money, like everything, like whatever, won the smokes. But then they heard that he was dead, and it was just like, it just instantly like ruined the fun for him, you know. And they act like it's like
doesn't matter what his name is, he's dead.
Yeah, it's like they're a family, but also the most dysfunctional family of all time at the same time. They can all feel for each other, but they can never open up or feel for another, because if they do that, then they're seen as weak and like, or so it's like, it's just no matter what they do, like they're just screwed.
It's just devastating, and we don't see that bet again the rest of the movie. Like anytime they introduce a new class of inmates, it's like that was that for that tradition. They did it. It felt like they did it a lot, but then he goaded him. He goaded him into crying. Haywood did. He was like, "Hey,
that's true.
Yeah, that guy."
Trying to be the friend at first. He sounded like he was going to be nice at first, and then, oh God,
I'll have to introduce you to these guys. They'll make you a real good friend. And I don't belong here. And he kept crying, and they were like, "Dude, shut the fuck up. You're gonna die."
And they the fear of that guard, like they knew, like that's the thing, is that's I don't know. It's always just like take a step back and then like you're thinking like I'm just watching a movie, but like no, like this stuff like it's happening in real life. So every time I take a step back and I'm like it's just a movie, it's like oh well, can't really do that either because like it's reality as well.
Yeah, but it's not, like we do have a prison system that is absolutely horrific. In many places.
Man, I don't know. The plan that Andy came up with, like it seems, I don't know. This is like truly goated, like mastermind level. Like, I wonder if like, I know this is based on a novel, but I wonder if the novel was based on someone actually doing this. And like, this is how they got out of prison.
Right.
Which maybe not all the laundering and like that aspect, but like, I don't know. I guess it could have happened, but,
hey, the organized crime side of this movie, that's something I didn't anticipate, and I like the way they really lay before you the hypocrisy of the warden Norton, who is committing all sorts of fucking crimes and has the audacity to seem holier than thou, literally. Like, oh my God, that what a hateful man and a hateable character. Like, there are a few characters ever that I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this man more. There's like, I cannot stand the warden in this movie.
It's his death scene is it's a satisfying one. It's like everything's closing in on him. He's about to get, unveiled, brought into the light.
The literal, literally one of the policemen outside of his door goes, "Make it easy on yourself." And that's what makes him go, okay.
That is, damn. Yeah. Wow. But I mean, I'm thinking like the start of like the organized crime, like start of it, like the moment that like he kind of gets into it is like one of my favorites of like the movie is whenever they're tarring the roof. And Andy stops and he goes over, he's hearing his the main guard talk about like a 10K or 30K gift or something.
Yeah, from
amount of money that's being taxed or blah blah blah. Yeah. And Andy goes over and he's like, "Yo, do you trust your wife? Like, if you just give it to her, one time, wife get blah blah blah." And like, and then he gets beer for everyone. Like he's like, dude, as long as you get some beer for my boys. And
I feel like a man doesn't really feel a man unless he has nice cold can of suds.
And then it just cuts to them all just like so happy, just chilling on that roof, drinking their beer, and Andy's just chilling, like watching them all drink.
He's so happy to see it, and like that's one of the things about about these two characters, Andy and Red, that really makes them satisfying. Is that Red is he picks him first of the people he thinks is gonna bitch out and cry at the beginning. And the respect that he gains for Andy over the course of the movie, like where they end up, there is not a more satisfying ending in the history of movies. I'd be like, this is amongst the greatest, and maybe not like oh yeah, that's realistic, I believe that would happen, but this is like a fairy tale ending. You know, like this makes me so happy. This is on like Return of the Jedi ending levels of happiness for me, you know? When we get there, it's fucking fantastic.
I mean, on IMDb, it's rated a 9.3 out of 10. And like for IMDb, that's kind of nuts. Like how many people have rated it? 2.6 million people have rated this movie. I wonder what it is.
2.6 million people. Having a 9 out of 10 with 2.6 million people weighing in is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Critically, a 9. Yeah. Like that makes sense. Critically, it kind of lines up, but audience score of a 98, which, I mean, like, what rating, like, really matters, like, in a movie? If it's out for a while, I feel like the audience score is more important than the critically rated score, in my opinion. Because, like, the point of a movie is to appeal, you know, to the most
to an audience
you can, to an audience. And, like, I feel like, you know, like, the audience score of, like, The Last Jedi, for example, that like, throw that one out of the window. That's, like, that's different. But, like, a movie that's been out for a while and, like, that has, like, you know, no controversy or anything about it, I feel like the audience score does, like, matter more. And, like, I don't know. I feel this is, like, in my top 10, like, movies of all time, very, very comfortably. And, like, quite possibly in the top 5. It's top 5 just changes all the time, though.
Yeah, I've been keeping track. I've been trying to, like, keep track of what my top 10 favorite movies are as we're doing this. You know, I thought of it when Pulp Fiction came up just a couple days ago, and I was like, you know what, that's not top 10 anymore. It might have once upon a time, but it's really not anymore. And you know, I like Forrest Gump, but it's not a top 10 favorite movie of mine. This is a top 10 favorite movie of mine, you know. And it's almost one of those things where I'm watching it and I'm like, there's no doubt about it. Like, we're even from the opening, when we first get to the prison and it's that flyover shot of everybody, like, they made that happen, you know. Like, we're not watching Spider-Man No Way Home where it's a bunch of blue screen behind our actors. They flew up and took that shot for us, you know. And I think it's really meticulous. I think of a shot when Andy's telling Red about where to go. He's about to break out that night, and he tells him, you know, head to this oak tree. We made love under it, and they're standing across from each other, and like the camera like almost looks like it's on the ground about 20 feet away from them, and Red's up against the wall and Andy's a few feet away from him, and it's just like, it's a really simple shot, really nice moment, and it's just like, god damn, that's just really well crafted. I love watching that sort of thing, and god, this is just such a good movie, and one of the a guaranteed cry for 30-ish minutes of the 2.5 hours. Like, it's like, ooh, I'm a cry during this one.
This one was a I think 2 tissue movie. I think I went for the second tissue, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to remember, like, the first time that I watched this one. I've watched this movie like 3 times, I think, in, like, preparation for this pod now. One time, like, about a month ago. And then now twice. Now one like yesterday and one like just now. But I've an average of a 2 tissue movie, I would say, for my cry scale.
Brooks, man, that is the one for me. You know, like, that's we follow him getting out of prison, right, for like 7 to 10 minutes. Like, Not a ton of screen time there, but holy fucking shit. For 10 straight minutes, I am crying. And when he finally comes to that conclusion, I don't like it out here. I'm not going to deal with it anymore.
This moment, watching it the first time, no idea he's going to, I just thought he's out, oh my gosh, he looks like he's doing well. And then, you start to see whatever, but I'd never expected him to go there, first watch. But then the second time I watch it, knowing what happens, him leaving, just seeing him leave the prison is enough for me to already start crying.
Oh yeah.
Well, because he's just leaving. He's entering a world that's completely different. Dude was in 05, I think he said.
1905.
He's coming into a completely different world. And that first step that he takes, I cry every time. It's when he steps over, he has to
bus. Dude, it's tough to talk about, man. Yeah, and whenever Red's reading the note he sent to the prison, and he's like, the nail in the coffin for me in terms of just sob is when he goes, he should have died here. Like that.
Yeah.
There comes a point, he'd spent more than half his life in jail. That is home now, that's.
He had a crow, he had a kid even kind of,
when he's like, I wish I just hope he'd come and visit me. He never does, but I hold out hope. I'm like, fuck, dude. Yeah, and then Brooks was here, so was Red. That shit tore me up. That shit always tears me up. Ah, man, it's tough to talk about, bro. That's some of the most moving and devastating shit in any movie I've ever watched. Was Brooks's story here in the middle of Shawshank Redemption.
Who would have thought a prison movie?
Oh my god.
I don't know. It's an insane movie to experience for the first time, and seeing Andy's plan unraveling is insane. But then also every side story there's not one side story that's really bad. I don't know. They're all fantastic. Even though some of them are devastating, they end up very, very sad or very violent or whatever. They're all.
That's the thing is that for a movie that is so drab in its imagery and devastating and dark, it is ultimately, by the end, you have to watch the movie knowing how it ends to feel it. It's hopeful, which is the ability to strike that balance, to have made it as devastating and dark as it was at points, and then to end it with that monologue he's given when he's sitting there on the bus or on the train, and he's he's saying something it's something only a free man can feel, this unknowing of where you're headed, but knowing you're going to go to it anyway. And it's you can, because he starts that movie, one of his first lines, the guy goes, hey Red, how you doing? He goes, same shit, different day.
Mm-hmm.
So to go into the unknown like that for the first time in over half his life, that's just, God, that makes me so happy. And that's just the end of this movie is just ultimately just fucking glorious for that reason.
Baller. Andy is a baller. That dude.
That's a king right there.
Oh my gosh. Did he do it? There are some people that think that guy in prison, is still lying that Andy truly did kill. I don't know though.
Oh no, I think Andy was innocent. I really do. Because
he seems like he just knew that he knew from day one that he was going to get out. I feel like he knows, he's so confident in himself, and he just knew he didn't belong there. He knew he was innocent. And he knew he was going to get out one way or the other. And like he's.
People like the lawyer and the judge at the beginning, they perceive him as cold and like not an ounce of regret, but it's because he doesn't have any emotion towards this because he didn't do it, and he's not going to have an ounce of regret because there's nothing to regret. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's just rough, you know, and yeah, I don't think he did it. I definitely don't think he did it. However, I do think there are points in this movie where he gets so low and so entrenched and institutionalized in this prison that there are moments where he might think he did. You know, like he's like, I might as well have. It's like whenever that dude tells him, like, this man told me he killed him, I think it's like probably the first time in years he can firmly go, I didn't do that. You know, like I'd been in here for so long. I'd been in here for so long that it's like maybe I'm here for that reason. Like maybe I really did. Like I just like I don't know. There's just got to be something psychologically that happens there. You know that.
I call this guy Elvis. I always forget his actual.
I think it's like James or something like that.
Yeah, but
for some reason
his like what happens to him, like my god, he goes through school basically, you know, like he's actually trying to get better, and then he's like he quits, he gives up, but his score actually like passes him or whatever with a C+ average, but then he doesn't even know that he passed because the warden killed him because like he didn't want Andy to leave, you know, like oh my god, like come on, like oh my god, like
fuck
that warden, man. Fuck that warden. Oh my god.
And the guy who plays the warden, Bob Gunton, he's real young here compared to where you would have seen him most recently. But you have seen him most recently. He's Leland. He's one of the guys who interacts.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Daredevil.
Yeah. Oh my god, no way.
Yeah, he's Leland.
Wow, yeah, I didn't I don't know. I had usually in a movie like these movies, there's one person that's like I've seen him from somewhere, but I can't quite pin it, and then you say it and I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you, I can sleep at night." But this one, I had just a little suspicion. I'm like, he looks familiar, but I think this is the only thing he's in. I don't think I've seen him anywhere else. But now now it's come full circle, and it's like, no, I did kind of recognize something about him then.
Yeah, there's also Clancy Brown as Captain Hadley, who was Surtur in Thor Ragnarok and Savage Opress in the Clone Wars, and
I recognize that voice. Yeah, I recognize that. Yeah, that's pretty.
He was
easy.
Also the guy in the Mandalorian episode who's giant and red and has the horns that get cut off in the prison. Prison
like
break.
Hellboy, basically Star Wars Hellboy.
Yeah, that was him too. Yeah, Clancy Brown's been around for sure. Yeah, it's a God, what a well crafted movie, you know, and God damn,
like the things that like always get me when I watch now. Is just the little nods that they give you if you've seen the movie and you know like what's happening. Like whenever he gets his random room search, you know, and he's holding his Bible, you know, because that's the one thing he doesn't want them to search, and the warden is like, "Oh, let me see that," and you're like, you know, if you've seen the movie, you're like, you know, like oh
yeah, you're like oh,
or like, and then the poster, and he's like, you know, I guess we can make exceptions, and you're like. Okay. Well, that's a great exception to keep that poster up, you know.
Exactly.
Very vital poster. Or like,
well, and it's just a really good example of how he was willing to look the other way for his own gain, you know, and the way Andy Dufresne fucks him in the end, man. When he switches those ledgers out, takes the money. Just does his own fucking thing
Dude was making bank in prison, through someone else.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's like, I don't know. That's like, how can you ever come back from that? Like, that's the most like gangster shit I've ever like. I don't know. How can you? I don't know. That's like insane. That's
some king shit.
The most
right there.
business, the most like business gangster thing you could do.
Oh my God. And the fact that he was like, I was real straight and narrow on the outside. I had to come to prison to become a crook. Like I didn't start doing illegal shit until I got to prison.
Damn. That's God. And then man, like him just having a rock obsession, so that he can dump it in the field. Like just like, and there's a line where he says something about like a chess match, or like something about like how you got to play the long game, and it's right after he like talking about his like rocks or something like that.
Legend.
But like it's so amazing, like just watching it over and over, and then still having it be as satisfying. His like seeing everything unravel. Yes. It's like, oh man, I don't know. This movie just never gets old, and it's truly
like, well,
is
I'll be damned.
It truly is just a goated movie. Like it's just one of the best movies, just in general.
It's like, did I say you were good? Shit, you were Rembrandt. Like, that's some real shit, man. This man is a genius.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Andy Dufresne, man, he might be up there with like
the all-time great movie protagonists.
I'm trying to I was thinking of like Luke Skywalker. Like that's just iconic. Like Andy Dufresne is not iconic like Luke Skywalker is iconic. Like it's a different kind of character.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's not iconicism necessarily. It's just like, as far as a protagonist who you want to see succeed and ultimately does make that success happen, he's up there, like that's a strong protagonist in any movie, like that's a hell of a role by Tim Robbins there. But
Andy Dufresne, who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side. Like
Andy Dufresne, who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side.
That was pretty good there.
Thanks, man. I try. Yeah. Morgan Freeman's been one I've tried to refine over the years, but I've also discovered that there's only so much justice a white man can do it. It's not fully achievable.
Not doable. You can only get like 50% the way there.
Yeah, frankly, how could I even come close to Morgan Freeman? Like you don't touch Morgan Freeman. That man's a god in this game.
Talking about goats, I mean, like I can't think of another narrator. Well, I mean, on his level though, I don't know. Whenever you think of just badass narration, I think of Morgan Freeman or Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like it just because Neil deGrasse Tyson just says just some cool shit like that blows your mind, Like, and he has a cool voice. No, his voice is cool and badass and like just
Tom Kane.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay.
The Clone Wars.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or Jeffrey Wright. For What If.
Okay. Yes, and in like
breaks my heart.
And in Westworld too. He has some fair narration in there.
Hey, I mean, Goodfellas had a pretty good narration with Ray Liotta. That's a real strong narration.
Robert Pattinson, the Batman.
That's a damn good narration. But through all this, we're saying all these, and they're all great, but they're not Morgan Freeman's narration in The Shawshank Redemption. This is truly like, and there's also something to the fact that he truly narrates pretty much the entire movie. Like he's it's not like he's popping in and out a lot. Like the whole story is filtered through Red explaining it to you.
It's him just telling the story of how Andy escaped and all the details and everything. Like,
and that's part of why we come from this movie revering Andy the way we do, because he reveres Andy that way, and he's the one telling us the story. So it's like, God
damn, this movie like just only gets better with time. It really does. Somehow, like, nothing can beat that first watch though. Like, the first watch is different. It is different. But,
the way they linger it, like they're like, he's going to bed. Haywood gave him 6 feet of rope earlier in the day. Red's real worried about him. Brooks committed suicide earlier in the movie, and they leave you with that last shot of him sitting there with the rope, looking real sad in his cell as the lights fall. Then the next morning they wake up, and he's not coming out of his cell. You better be sick or dead in there. And then he's just not there. And the first time you watch it, it's like, oh, fuck yeah. What's going on here? And watching Red be like looking like over everybody, like, what's going on? And then like he's like, you got to ask him what the fuck's going on here. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, my boy made it out.
Oh, man. That imagine like being Red in that scenario, like not knowing at all that like that's what he intended to do. I mean, like he knew, but like, I mean, like from not like thinking this dude is going to be the first crybaby, to hearing that he got out and he's out, like gone, like for the whole night he's been running, like, so he's like confident that this dude is gone, and like
he's gone.
You would have to feel like, I don't know. That's just like secondhand badassery. You'd have to.
I love what Red's narration again after he's gone. He's like, I did miss my friend. Like I was so happy that he got away, but it made my days here even all the worse. And
damn,
seeing him go back to his parole hearing over and over the years and getting rejected when he was like, yes, I'm rehabilitated. I'm ready to rejoin the world. Like I've absolutely. And they're like, it's what a fucking sick and twisted thing going on there to just be like, you must be lying to me. Bam. And then when he's finally like, dude, frankly, I don't give a fuck. You've beaten me to a pulp. I am done. I don't feel I'm out of this bitch pretty much. Like I'm mentally checked out. And they're like, then perfect.
Oh, so you're ready to kill yourself. You can go out into the world.
Yeah,
is basically the unsugar-coated version. Like it is just super sad.
How do you ask this question? Ellis Boyd Redding, your file says you've served 40 years in prison. 40 years of a life sentence. 40. Do you feel you've been rehabilitated? 40 years? Yo, if someone is still in prison going, no, motherfucker, I'm ready to kill again. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just,
yeah, that, I mean, I would assume maybe there's a couple of those people on Earth that exist, that are just that insane. But, I don't know. It is like really sad every time I watch this movie and just are like, it came out in 94 and I'm supposed to feel like, oh yeah, this is a while ago. And like, this is just a movie. It's all fiction. And like,
it came out in 94, but it is set from like 49 to 65. Like it's,
so like, obviously we've gotten better since then and stuff, and then and
perhaps in many ways we have, but
I mean, obviously, I'd say not. Prison in 1900 versus now, it's probably better now. I'd rather be in prison now than in 1900.
But isn't the fact that it's a similar system at all kind of indicative of a like, oh, we're kind of doing the same thing we were doing 120 years ago? All right, cool. Yeah, that's something to consider. God damn.
Yeah, I wonder what the spread of the rating is on here. If it's I guess it's strong. Just it's strong. It's just equal across the board, pretty much.
Yeah, everyone's loving the Shawshank Redemption.
But man, I don't know. Every time I watch this movie, it just reassures me that it's a top 10, or just it's in my group of movies that will always be up there for me. This will never leave my top 10, I don't think.
I got fairly confident this is going to be a top 10 constant amongst the top of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, there's just so much that is just flooring about this movie. And you were talking about how you like to think things have changed, and this movie came out in 94. There's a book I read called Revolutionary Suicide by Huey P. Newton, who was a political prisoner because he was a founder of the Black Panther Party. And that shit where Andy Dufresne, they're like, put him in solitary for a month. That happened to Huey P. Newton. That seems like one of the most unrealistic, what the fuck, how could you possibly do that to a human person thing in this movie? And it's happened to various people in history. And it's like,
that's insane.
That's immoral. There's no way to go about it. That's immoral.
It's been scientifically proven that it takes less than 3 days for someone in solitary confinement to start to go insane. Less than 3 days.
Then month. They visited him at the end of the month and went, give him another.
Holy shit. That's I don't know. And the 3 days thing, that was someone who voluntarily went in solitary confinement and was in somewhat nice conditions. And this was just pure darkness and cold, and you got water, food and stuff was given to you, and the light probably burned your eyes. It just was shitty all around the whole time. That. Oh my God. That's nuts that happens to people. To people.
It's fucking insane, dude. It's fucking insane. But
what a weird rating for enjoyment. I'm because it's not a very smile. You don't enjoy this like a Spider-Man No Way Home, where you're jumping out of your chair and.
Of course not. But if we take it back to how we discussed enjoyment on Dead Poets Society,
there it is.
how it connects with us. Mm-hmm. This is certainly a 5.
Thank you. That's where I was trying to go. I'm glad you went there, because I was going to bring up the Dead Poets thing as well. That's exactly where I was going. So I don't feel I can give this anything other than a 5 in enjoyment, because every time I do watch it, I notice one little thing that I didn't notice before, and that one little thing can elevate the movie tenfold. Even it takes so little for this movie to get better and better and better. And yeah, I am very comfortable giving it a 5 for enjoyment. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain about that being a 5 out of 5 in enjoyment. I mean, like I said, top 10 favorite movie of all time for me. Pretty much, no doubt. That's a guaranteed 5 out of 5 in enjoyment if it's a top 10 favorite movie of mine all time. That's just... If it's in my top 10, it's going to be a 5 out of 5 enjoyment for me. Because there's a lot of movies. Limiting it to 10 is practically impossible.
I mean, within our top 10 already, we have 13, I think, at least, or 12.
That's our top 5.
maybe even, top 5. So our top 10 is probably a good
20 or something like that.
So how can you limit? How can you limit all these movies?
How could you do that?
But as a genre, is this genre defining? I guess, genre wise, this it's classified as a drama on IMDb. That's all it says.
And that one is, we've discussed this before, how that's the hardest one to go. Oh yeah, genre defining drama, like drama is pretty all encompassing.
Yeah,
that's the. But as we discussed yesterday with Forrest Gump, because it's a similar problem we had there. Like, this is a drama. It's like, how do you grapple with that? And I generally go to drama and go, all right, if I'm going to show someone a drama, like, I'm like, you want to watch one of the best dramas I've ever seen. I don't know how you don't go Shawshank Redemption. This is in the same vein as Forrest Gump in terms of the, like, iconic American film. Like, it's like, this is truly one of the greatest movies of all time, and it's widely regarded as such. And therefore, I think in terms of that, you got to go 4.9 at, like, the floor. Like, it's
a very, like, good thing you said that, because, like, this movie is kind of, anyone can get into this, like, it's kind of weird at first for some people, maybe, because it's just a different movie. Like, you don't really see, I don't know, just prison. Like, it's you're not expecting, like, such a great movie to come from it or whatever. But, like, it's
a place of immense sadness that nobody wants to visit.
Yeah.
So why would they watch a movie about it? And frankly, you got to. Like, this is one of those movies now, like, where I'm like, if you haven't seen it, it is required viewing. You have to watch The Shawshank Redemption.
And that being required viewing, like, I would say that too. Like, I'd say, like, if you want to have any say in film or, like, any whatever, if you want to talk just movies, like, this is a movie you have to see. And I don't, like, is giving it a 5, like, too high? I don't know. Like, I like, in genre, it is just a weird rating. Like, if 4.9 is the floor, it's basically already a 5.
Yeah, I say we go ahead and throw it at it.
I feel like this is, like,
because, like, I was talking about Forrest Gump, like, we were like, yeah, this is about as genre defining as you can get for a drama, and I'd say I'd show Shawshank Redemption to someone before I'd show Forrest Gump. So it's got to be a little higher.
That's crazy. Like, wow. But I don't know.
I think we're about to crown a new king. If I had to guess. Yeah, I think we are.
As a film now, and wow.
Here's my thing: is like from a pure writing, storytelling perspective, that's a perfect 5. There's, like, no doubt in my mind that aspect of this movie is a perfect 5. The acting is incredible. They did such a good job. The only thing where I'd say it doesn't, like, excel at is the filmmaking. Like, it's pretty and it's well done, but it's nothing that's like, wow. That dropped my jaw. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
not a wallpaper shot, or, like,
the soundtrack is really good, but it's also not a soundtrack that makes me go, fuck, I need to listen to it.
Fair.
I mean, there are some flares in that soundtrack that work really well. Like, when he makes it out and is in the rain, like, that's a great orchestral flare there. But, and all this to say, like, it's really high. It's not, for me, floor, like, absolute floor, I don't think I'm here, is 4.75.
Okay. I'm right there with you. I was thinking,
like, I'd go 4.8, 4.85 before I went, I don't know that I'd go 4.9, because
4.9 is, that is kind of, yeah, I don't know.
It's got to be we've only rated a couple movies 4.9s, man.
Yeah, no, I can't. Like story wise, yes. Like I fully agree, perfect there. But like if we are fully encompassing everything it is as a film, like the filmmaking and visuals, like that does matter. And a movie like Jurassic Park makes sense that it is a 4.9, 3 we gave it. Even
Yeah, we were like, you know what, fuck it, let's give it a look.
It makes sense. It is visually stunning. The story is basically perfect as well. Like it, and it makes sense. 4.93. Forrest Gump 4.9. Visually also like actually insane shots, different parts of the world, like visually stunning there, and like shot well, story perfect, everything there. So yeah, so like those numbers do make sense. But it's not much lower though, is the thing. Like
I'd say the most comparable thing on our list is if you scroll all the way up to Dead Poet Society. That's a pretty comparable one here for me. And The Godfather are pretty comparable ones in terms of the way I'm viewing this, because when it comes to The Godfather, I'd say the story is a little weaker than The Shawshank Redemption, but the filmmaking and everything that went into it elevates it to a level that The Shawshank Redemption didn't quite hit. But it still knocked it out of the fucking park, and therefore I don't think it can't be lower than that. Like it can't be lower than that 4.8. Like it's got to be there or maybe a little higher.
And yeah, that's the thing. Do we tie it, with The King? Do we make this a 3-way tie between The Godfather, Raiders, and Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, scroll up for me real quick.
I believe that those are the only 4.93s. Godfather is a 4.93.
I think we've got Forrest Gump at a 4.93.
Oh, okay, so a 4-way tie. Yeah, Raiders, Godfather, Forrest Gump, and then would be Shawshank Redemption. Oh, yeah, no, and would be Shawshank if given a 4.8. Now, if we give it a 4.85, for example, that is the
new king,
yes. And it would, not 8, a little bit high there. It would give it,
a little higher than that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Here we go. Give it a 4.95. So just 0.02 better than those 3 other movies. Forrest Gump.
That's hard. That's
Godfather,
hard. And that's real hard.
Let's see. Do you consider The Godfather as required viewing for film?
All the movies we just listed are required viewing for film.
I feel like
The Godfather, Raiders, Forrest Gump, and Shawshank are required viewing.
Can you comfortably say that Shawshank Redemption is better than all 3 of those movies?
It took too long to answer, so no.
I think it ties it. I think that's what feels right. And 4.8 just kind of felt right, like anyways. Like not even thinking of all the other ratings. Like just it's perfect story, perfect acting. The only thing that takes it back just a little bit is just like the visuals and like
just kind of basic filmmaking at points. It's not like it's just nothing groundbreaking.
And it didn't need to be. That's the and that's the thing. Like it didn't really need to be. It would be weird if like I don't know, if it was glorifying or like, if it was beautifully shot, for something that is supposed to be so dark and on purpose. So I don't know, a 4.8 like just makes sense anyways. And I don't know, that is beautiful. Our top 5 grew even more. Another one just to slide up in there, which makes sense though.
It always does.
Our top 4 is a first place. So our top 5 is first place. 80% of it, 80% of our top 5 is first place. Which is just amazing. But
that's just perfect.
It makes sense.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, so that leaves us with Shawshank Redemption at a 4.93. It came for the king, and it did not miss. That's strong, man. That's
wow. Yeah,
what a fucking film, man.
I don't know. Maybe I was no. Maybe if it's taken this too long to answer, it's not. I'm thinking like, could it be better? Like, could it be The King? Like above all these movies, I think it might. But like,
here's my thing: is that purely from a story perspective, it has the best story of any movie on this. But there's the direction of Francis Ford Coppola and The Godfather elevates The Godfather to a different level. The action adventure nature of Indiana Jones being just the classic archetypical, we're fighting Nazis. This is fun as fuck. It's also directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's just the soundtrack with John Williams elevates it too. And I mean, you got Steven Spielberg at the helm. It's going to elevate it. It's going to elevate it a little bit. And then Forrest Gump, if there's anyone that I'm not as confident on it being a 4.93, it's Forrest Gump. Like, I think this one is the easiest one to compare to Shawshank Redemption. And I watched Shawshank Redemption before I watched Forrest Gump pretty much 9 times out of 10.
Same.
Which is, it's just interesting that they end up falling to the same rating, but it's maybe it's just because I haven't watched Forrest Gump as recently as I watched Shawshank Redemption that I'm like, fuck, I love Shawshank Redemption way more. I love me some Forrest Gump. I love me some Forrest Gump. So I'm feeling good about this, but,
yeah,
there's a certain epicness to the Forrest Gump tale that just makes it.
I mean, it is wild. We get like everything. Vietnam, ping pong champion.
It's the definition of like American mythology. Like modern contemporary American mythology is Forrest Gump.
But I don't know. Like, Forrest Gump is good for different reasons than Shawshank is good. So, I don't know. It's a whole different vibe of a movie. There's no way that like, you pick Shawshank on a different night than Forrest Gump. Like, there's no way, like, they're kind of considered in the same, day, like whatever. I don't know. They're just kind of different movies.
And it is fascinating, thinking about how like devastating some of the moments are, but Forrest Gump is generally a more upbeat film throughout, but is it? Like, there's some devastating shit that happens, but I think the thing that makes Shawshank devastating is that it doesn't roll off the protagonist's back. It weighs on them. It hurts. It's painful. Meanwhile, Forrest, he's got, he cares. He obviously knows what's going on and everything, but you don't see it. It doesn't come through as him being devastated, as him struggling to go on. But you get that with Red, and you get that with Andy, and
it's real.
There's a heaviness to Shawshank that doesn't come with Forrest Gump.
Shawshank is just real. Like, it's just more real.
Yeah, I'll say far and away this is the heaviest movie of our 4.93s. Raiders is partly up there because it's groundbreaking fun.
Yeah.
It's like I never knew there could be a movie this fun and exciting that was this well done. And The Godfather, it's The Godfather. I don't feel like that needs elaboration.
I feel like Shawshank, like, it's another one of those movies that just doesn't need, like, it just, within the name, like, I don't know. It's like The Godfather. Like, whenever I think about it, whenever I hear Shawshank, I think of it at the same level as The Godfather. So I feel definitely, like, comfortable where it's at and that it's tying all.
I'm glad we've come to this and we've concluded our week of 1994 flicks. It's been a fucking trek for this week, baby. But now we're about halfway through the year. We got to wrap up June next week with our 1995 film. We're going to continue on the Morgan Freeman train with 7, starring Brad Pitt, and Morgan Freeman. And I cannot fucking wait to watch that.
Duo.
Discuss that. Yeah, and the 90s are going to be it's going to be a fun one. I mean, Timon and Pumbaa, Come on.
Damn.
As far as duos are concerned, we're gonna have a tough fucking time. Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and Goodfellas.
Oh, Dumb and Dumber.
Fuck. Harry and Lloyd.
Damn. We got some great
bangers.
Yeah.
Forrest and Jenny. Forrest and Bubba Gump.
Oh my.
Forrest and Bubba. Oh my God.
90s awards about to go crazy.
Yeah, but we'll get there. We're only about halfway through now. We're only officially halfway through now. We got 95, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And oof, we're getting to some contemporary classics, baby. This is going to get fun as fuck. But before we get to all that, next week we wrap up June with 7. Very excited for that. And with that, we conclude the Penny Bloom podcast. It was I, Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Glad we finally got this week in the books. It was a good one. Good one.
Oh, it was such a good fucking... just such a good fucking movie. I just love it so much. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find well over 24 hours of exclusive content. All that money goes back into making sure I can put this podcast on, make it happen. Yeah, so that's much appreciated. If you would, head to Twitter, follow @PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And it really comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living or get busy dying.